I'm a fan.
He keeps asking about it on your commercial.
Dad, bro.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That is hands down the most fun I have as I record my videos. I record so many videos. I love recording those.
Heck yeah.
Those are so good.
Have you seen his little son dad videos?
Oh yeah, they're great. Yeah, they're great.
Dude, it's a blast.
I was telling Jack the other day, I think it was last week, that we gotta get on there and mock him.
Got to. Gotta come in hot. All right, awesome. Well, we are live. We are live in the Phoenix Rehab Facebook group, and we are live on my YouTube. So today will be all about cold calling, talking with sellers, scripting, how to intro yourself, anything and everything everyone wants to talk about. Most of you don't, or I guess these two don't need any introduction for the Phoenix Rehab group. The head of the Phoenix Rehab, Mr. Chris Iman, and a Phoenix baller, Luke is it Rotvold?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
It's it's one of those tough Norwegian names that no one can ever get. But yeah, it's Rotvold.
Bro, so good.
Is that why you're a Vikings fan? Is that why you're a Vikings fan?
Yeah, absolutely. My grandpa was from Norway.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he moved here from Norway, so.
But not because you're from Minnesota, just.
Well, I mean, from Minnesota as well, but Norway is runs real deep.
That's right.
Heck yeah.
Well, I think it's for those of you jumping on live, I would love for you to make a comment below. Give us 3 things. I want to hear your name, right? Because I'm not going to be able to catch everyone's name based around the software, but give us your name, how long you've been in the game. If you're a newbie, say you're a newbie. If you're a 20-year vet, say you're a 20-year vet. And then where are you living? What market are you in? I'm doing deals in 19 states now. We just did a deal in Alaska. You're welcome.
Wow, look at that.
So that's fun. And, these guys are really murdering it in Phoenix, and there's a lot of experience behind us. So we want to just jump into cold calling. And I know, Luke, you and I both have a lot of experience in that. I'm happy to kind of give the mic over to you for a little bit and just kind of talk about, I think what most people would want to know is that intro call. Like, what do you say?
Absolutely.
Ring, ring, ring. And then Johnny Homeowners answers, right? Like, what's your kind of scripting of something like that?
So, I mean, we keep it really simple. We literally just say, is this so-and-so? Yes. Sorry, the call's a little out of the blue. But I was calling about a property, and then, obviously the longer that you do cold calling, you pick up little things here and there that are going to, they're going to help you just off of how many times you've done it. So, I always say, I was calling about a property I believe you own on blank, right? On 123 Main Street. And so the reason we say, sorry, the call is a little out of the blue, and, opposed to, hey, this is Luke with Viking Real Estate, is it's just less intrusive, right? Like it's not as salesy. So we just really found that it really hooks the seller from the beginning, rather than, how many calls do you get, on a daily basis, especially if you're in the Phoenix area, of, hey, this is so-and-so with whatever real estate. And so it's like, immediately that, that they're calling what they're calling about. And so, people hang up all the time. So when we say calling about a property I believe you own, again, it's not saying like, hey, I'm calling about the house that I know that you own at this location, where it's like, when you say that, people are like, whoa, like, back up, man. Like, I don't even know who you are. You're telling me exactly where I live. So again, just off the very bat, it's just by saying those 2 small things, making those 2 small changes, it really just kind of, it got us a lot more answers on the phone right off the bat.
Yeah, I think, part of, so I train a lot in sales. One of the things you want to try to do is you want to limit their ability to have a wall up, right? And by saying, I believe you own, you're generic enough that like someone's going to have a response to that. Because if I owned this home and you called me and said that, I would say, yes, I own the home, right?
Exactly.
And if you don't, what do you think they're going to say?
Right. And then, right, exactly. And the thing that does too, is it opens the door, exactly what you're saying. It opens that door. Yes, I own this home. What are you calling for? Oh, I was actually just calling to see if you'd ever consider an offer on that property. Not, I'm calling because I want to buy your house. Like, no, I was calling to see if you would ever consider an offer. And again, consider is a very soft word. You know what I mean? It's like, it's using this terminology that makes the seller, the person on the other end of the phone feel like they are in full control. So, calling up just to see if you'd ever consider an offer maybe, and it's like, when you say that, they're like, oh, okay. And so it's just, they don't have any, like you just said, there's no walls up. They're either just going to say yes or no. And it makes it pretty simple from that point. For us, when they say no, we ask if they have, and again, as you know, Justin, that's your answer, 95% of the time when you're cold calling. That's how it works, and so what I teach my guys is that, listen, I'm not going to sit there and ask you to sit there and try to talk them into selling their house. If they don't want to sell their house, they don't want to sell their house. And that's how I try to explain it with my guys, is like, if someone calls me and tells, and asks me if I'm interested in selling my house, my answer is no. And if my answer was yes, that's going to be a high number. Like, I'm going to ask for something that's going to be way over market value. And so I try to have them put their themselves in our position, where it's like, if you truly don't want to sell your house, you're not going to talk someone into it unless it's some astronomical number, which, as we know, as wholesalers, that doesn't make sense for us.
That's right. So when you're training your team, or even when you're doing it, if someone says no, is the conversation over?
No, we'll say, so do you have any other properties that you maybe would consider selling? That's the last question. And then if they say no again, no worries. Thanks so much for your time.
Okay. And
so
then
we literally cut it at that. We ask those two questions. If the answer is no on both of those, then that's the end of the phone call for us. We move on.
I know a lot of people go like, do you have any neighbors that are thinking about selling? You don't head down that route too, or?
We don't, honestly. We keep it just, do you have any other properties that you would consider selling? And the answer is no again. Usually by those two questions, if they're just two quick no's, they don't want to be on the phone with you. You know what I mean? So we have a pretty good handle on if they're interested whatsoever at that point. Obviously, if they say yes to either one of those, then that obviously breaks down the door, and you go all the way through the whole script and everything. So,
yeah, 100%. I think, one thing that for sure was in Phoenix, and we even see it because we do pretty heavy cold calling all through Oklahoma as well.
Cool.
But the classic answer of like, well, what's your offer? Right. Yeah. So when you say your intro of like, hey, calling, I believe you own this home. Great. Would you be open to a cash offer? Would you be open to an offer on your home?
Right.
When they say, well, what's your offer? Where do you?
Right. So would you consider an offer on that property? Exactly. If they just say, well, what's your offer right off the bat? I'll just say, you got to keep in mind, I've driven your property, but I don't have any idea of the interior condition of it. I could ask you a couple of questions and try to get you a more realistic kind of, number for you. But I mean, if I'm just going to shoot from the hip, I would probably, I'd say I'd be somewhere in the ballpark of, and then I'll throw out like a 70%, and just drop the hammer right there. And again, depending on what the response is going to be, again, most of the time it's going to be, no way, that's way too low. And if they say, oh, if that's what they say, then we say, again, like I said, keep in mind, I have no idea the condition of your home. And then I also say, and you also have to keep in mind, we buy our properties cash. We pay closing costs, doc fees. We don't charge realtor fees. So our offer is just a very, it's just a very simple offer, just net in your pocket for you. But again, I mean, if they're going to say no, right off the bat, or if they're going to say, what's your offer? That's how we go about it.
Yeah. And then, so I guess the next question then parlays into, if you get the, what's your offer? And then they say, well, that's way too low. Mm-hmm. Do you have Zillow up, or do you have PropStream up, or do you have something with value right then and there?
Yeah, we have Zillow pulled up, so we have the number right there. So again, we teach our guys, and again, it's different markets. That number is different in every market, as you guys know. When we're buying in certain areas in Prescott that we know super well, and we know that supermarkets are crazy hot, we'll come up to 85%. If the property, if there's, say pictures on Zillow from a recent listing that they had for a rental, right? For like a rental listing where you can actually just get the photos right there and the condition, and you can see that it's either, upgraded, or you can see that it's a super clean house, then maybe we'll come up to 85%. Or even 90%, because as we all know, in this market right now, things are selling for $30,000 to $50,000 over on everything. That's why we'll talk about this later. That's why we're flipping everything right now. It's because our last 5 houses that we listed, every one of them went over asking with appraisal waivers. And so it's
that
like,
is wild, bro.
yeah. So it's like, so we're absolutely willing to come over, you know what I mean? And normally when we set our that number at like 70-75%, we'll gladly come up to 85, maybe 90% right now if it's a super clean house. And then, you know, say the estimate's 400 grand. It's like before we'd be, okay, well, we got to buy this at 300 grand, right? Where now we're like, okay, we might come up to like 375. And then by the time you actually talk to the seller and break down, listen, I know you were thinking about selling this on the market for 400, but you were going to be paying closing costs, doc fees. You're going to charge, you're going to be charged 6% for realtor fees. You're going to have an inspection at the end of it where they're going to ask you to fix this and fix that. And maybe you're going to do a credit, right? And so that's how we kind of break it down. And so we're like, listen, even though that, you might have listed your house for 400, the truth is you might only really be walking with like, say 370, 375. Because obviously, we don't tell them that things are selling for much, higher on the market right now. We just assume that if you got a full price offer on your property, you're not walking with 400, you're walking with 370, 375. So then from that point, we'll say, I could probably be, somewhere in that ballpark for you. But again, I'm going to take all the stress out of it. You pick your close date. Let me know whenever you want to go. And we'll make this as simple as it could possibly be for you.
Yeah. I think the next thing, I'll go to Chris on this. Well, it'll be a two-part question because I'm thinking about like how you broke open into Northern Arizona, right? Like, did you have contractors there, et cetera? And Chris having, 20 years experience kind of in that space. Right. I think one of the biggest questions out there is like, how do you estimate rehab without having a contractor go out there and like really give you a line item bid? Because there's a lot of people that are doing this virtually now. Like I'm one of those individuals that I didn't leave Phoenix. I still do deals in Phoenix, but I do way more outside of the state than I used to. And so I have my answer, but I'm curious to hear, Chris, what you would say about being able to judge that rehab when you're not as familiar with it.
Well, Luke, you're from Northern Arizona, right?
Yeah.
You spent some time there. I actually spent some time there. I spent 7 years in Sedona, and I know that the rehab budget in Northern Arizona is like 1.75 times it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You just take the Phoenix budget and almost double it. And
that's there's no doubt about that.
Do you guys, either of you guys have like a generic Bubba math, I call it, when you talk about like estimating a home? So let's just use 1,500 square foot home, right? Do you say, okay, it was built in 1960, we're at $40 a square foot to do a full blown remodel?
I use 20 for just a paint and carpet, semi like 1980 and newer. I'm not moving any walls. And then if I'm doing a one wall move or two, it's 30 a foot. And then, obviously if you're going to studs or, just really gutting it, then obviously it goes way up from there.
You don't think the cost of materials and labor right now have just increased? Like those, I feel like those are the numbers I used to run prior to COVID. I would be like, oh, okay, it's $20 square, 30. Like now I'm just like cabinets, count, like it's just insanity now.
So yeah, I'm just finishing up a Mesa. Not that I rehab a whole lot, but one didn't sell, and I was like, why is this not selling? It's just like, and sure enough, I paid $320 for it. My list price is going to be $420, but I spent $5,000 on the cabinets. I spent $2 a foot, which you never used to spend $2 a foot on the paint. But that was $3,200. I did the LVP, so that wasn't. I think I'm in it right now, sitting at like 14.
Bless you.
And I got granite left. I got an appliance package. I didn't do the surrounds on the showers. They were still white and,
Yeah, they were good.
But it was like that 19, whatever. I had probably about a 2004 house, but had that white built-in surround that was like all in one pieces. But I'm like, they were clean. Like, I don't think it's going to keep it from selling right now. So why do it?
No, for sure.
How many deals are you guys flipping? Well, Luke said it, but Chris, how many deals are you guys flipping? You still move roughly 30 deals a month, don't you?
Yeah, 30 to 40 right now. But we're in Florida too. We're not in 19 markets, but we're in 2 markets. So.
Right.
Yeah. And so in Phoenix specifically, how many of you guys actually flipping? Because that's your head market. Or I guess in general, how many of you guys actually flipping right now?
We don't flip it all. We wholesale everything we touch, but we're doing 30 deals a month in Phoenix for sure.
Okay. And guys, as you guys come on, if you have questions, put them in the comment below. That helps this conversation go, right? You have three very experienced investors all doing 7 figures a year. If you have any questions around cold calling, talking to sellers, even if we're bringing up remodeling costs, things like that, put them right here in the chat, and then I can show you guys off, which is a cool little feature, and I can show you.
There we go.
Did it pop up?
It did, really quick.
Oh, I think I might have taken it down.
There it is.
So let us know if you have questions, where you have questions, what market you're from, your name, your level of experience. You have some veterans here that we are here to help you guys and provide value for you, whether it's cold calling or not. If you guys want to switch the subject and talk about remodeling, if you want to talk about virtual wholesaling, if you want to talk about anything you guys want, ask the questions here. This is a resource for you. It's totally free, and it's going to happen every single week. And so are we doing this weekly?
And that, yeah, weekly. And with that being said, if you're watching, obviously Chris, head of Phoenix RIA right here, just more content for you guys. We're going to drop this into the Phoenix RIA every Tuesday around 2 o'clock. So if you jump on, you can jump on here and ask questions. Luke's the acquisition expert, Justin's 19 markets.
Yeah.
I just got 20 years experience just muddling through it all.
No big deal. Just buying and selling for 20 years. Yeah, I think the interesting takeaway I would tell both of you guys just recently is the last, since COVID.
I lost my sound.
You can't hear?
Call back in real quick.
That might be a user error because I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. You back?
Uh-oh. This guy, we flip houses, folks. We're not technically, we're technically challenged, I should say. I love it. Yeah, if you guys are watching, ask the questions right here in the thread. We'll be able to answer you. Luke is gone. Luke said, F it, I'm out, guys. I don't care anymore.
With the, just a little plug for tomorrow. Tomorrow at our good old Phoenix RIA Lunch and Learn, we will be talking about pre-foreclosure acquisitions. And I will share with did you see the Fox News about the business, the commercial flood they say is coming?
No, but I was just about to ask you your thoughts about what's going on because I don't pay attention to commercial much, but I don't see much on the horizon for.
I did not know that the COVID Act, I don't remember the name of it, in 2 years ago that the CARES Act, right? Well, the CARES Act kept banks from having to disclose how commercial assets were doing. So that expired on January 1st. So whether it's hospitality or, retail or whatever, if that particular asset was behind or in foreclosure or whatever, the bank didn't have to disclose it. As we all know with banks, if an asset's in foreclosure, it takes away their ability to lend because it goes right against their equity, right? It's no longer a loan. It has to go back on their equity side of the balance sheet. So as of April 1, all the banks that have all those commercial loans have to start telling everybody how many are in default.
Oh, wow. Baby.
So that's they didn't have to disclose any of that until January 1, but now that gives them another quarter to have to disclose. So I mean, a bank could have, I don't know how much, but they could have millions and millions of bad commercial debt on their books. And if it has to go from the asset side of being a loan and then has to go over to the bad loan and has to come off their equity side, it's a game changer for a lot of them. So
what would that mean since you're a lender yourself, Chris? Like what is that? So let's say it does move from good to bad. What happens to them? Their liquidity shrinks. They can't lend as much anymore. I mean, what happens?
Well, I got to be on one side of this, and back in 2007. So let me just give you a little history lesson. Back in 2007, we had $80 million out in hard money, right? So, and we had an equity piece. We were only required to have a 10% equity piece. So that means us, the partners, had $8 million in equity in that section. But let's just say, a loan goes bad for 500 grand. Well, that has to come out of that $8 million equity, right?
Wow.
Now, 2 loans go bad for 500 grand. That's only 2 loans. Now you have $1 million off your equity side, which means now you can only lend $70 million. So you can see how that can change rather quickly.
Absolutely.
Dude, that's wild. And also, because you were so wrapped up in that back in the crash, what do you see coming right now? Allison Ball, what's up, Tri-City? What do you see coming down the pipeline in terms of residential, right? Like when this COVID thing happened, obviously we're all, aware of the people that are talking about all these foreclosures about to hit, etc. Chris, do you have any insight on what you kind of are seeing? I mean, I don't think anything's going to foreclosure in Phoenix. I mean, that would be insanity the way.
Right.
But
yeah,
what do you think?
And I don't think I mean, if you look at all the reports, last time I looked, everybody that had gone into a forbearance or a modification agreement or a forbearance agreement from COVID, I think the last number I saw is 70% of those had come out, whether they sold or they refinanced or I mean, they had some opportunities to get back out, do a modification agreement. So, and then anybody that gets noticed is going to have all 3 of us knocking on their door in the next 48 hours, right?
Exactly. No doubt about that.
I mean, and then there's going to be 20 other guys behind us. And I don't think, I mean, obviously Phoenix is an extreme market with so many people moving here, the ramp up, but I want to say that a lot of cities had huge increase in value, right? Just because of the cheap interest rates. So
did you see so I saw something, I want to say it was like CNBC or maybe even data from Redfin that nationally in 2021, they're reporting that the entire nation went up 18% on average, 18 in a year.
Wow.
Right. On average, by the way. And there's certain markets like Phoenix and Miami.
In Arizona, that's way more.
Right. But that's insanity. Right. And then they're saying, again, I think this is, I don't know where I saw this, but they're basically saying anywhere from 7 to 10% appreciation again this year, which this is probably the year that everyone's is suspecting is going to roll backwards, right? But there's still, and again, who's they, right? What economists but at the end of the day, like smart people are saying this thing is still going to appreciate, even though interest rates are hiking up.
Yep.
There's just going to be people that have the money that don't care. Like I don't care.
Exactly.
If I'm going to get a 3% interest rate or a 4% interest rate, I'm still going to buy the damn house.
Exactly.
I have the money to do it.
It's not going to make a difference.
No.
Yeah, but that for someone like that, for you, that's a little different. But if you're just basically able to get into that house, if you've ever done the math, let's just say it went up for 20% last year for round numbers, right? It was a $300,000 house. It went up 20%. So now it's a $360,000 house. And the interest rate went from 3 to 4. So you got the $60,000 increase in price and the 1% interest rate. That's probably going to hike you in payment. I'm going to say in the 40 percentile. So if your mortgage budget is X, now it's got to be 1.4X, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're right on the edge, when I started borrowing way before you guys, while you guys were in high school. Might have been in grade school, who knows? But 7.5, that was normal. That was the norm, so
right.
I remember my first home I bought was 6%. Now this is during the heyday, right? When it was literally 100% financing. It was the craziest shit. It was my first home I've ever had. I literally just signed docs. I didn't bring a checkbook. I didn't bring anything. And it funded, and I'm like, wow, this is insanity.
This is amazing. Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
But it was at 6%, right? And it was a $500,000 condo. And so my payments, were like $3,000 a month. And now I look at the interest rate I have now and I'm like, holy hell. Like people would just stop buying if interest rates went to 6%. Like just stop. It would stop everything.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
What's interesting is I'm doing my next class on Phoenix Rehab on the Phoenix Rehab night. So that's the 15th. There's a new program out there with lenders. It's called debt coverage service ratio. You can take your asset, your rental asset, and as long as it covers the rent covers the mortgage by want to say it's 10%. I got a guy coming on talking about this. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
10 to 15%, they'll refi your home. And I think the rates are like 4.5.
Wow.
Not I mean, you got to just have good credit, but you don't have to have like the, you don't have to qualify for it. It's like the house qualifies on its own.
It's asset-based lending.
Yeah, totally asset-based lending.
Insane.
Bro, that's where it gets scary again, right? Because that's
I'm kidding.
You're like, oh, I've seen this cycle.
That's when it takes me back to 2008.
God.
Man.
Well, where do we want to go with these guys? I mean, we got some people watching. If you guys have questions, throw the questions in here. We'll give you a shout out. You go on the screen. There's a lot of experience here. I mean, there are literally, probably 400 or 500 deals, well, more than that, right? I mean, a year going through just the three of us.
That was just me last year.
Yeah, I was just doing some quick math, bro. Had to do some quick math. 30 times 10 is 300 times another 2. It's
so Luke, on your cold callers, when you're talking to that seller, is your cold caller have the ability to go all the way to making the offer, or do you have like some inside sales guy that they hand it off to, or?
No, I mean, so we kind of have it two different ways. We have just in-house cold calling, and then we also have obviously all the lead follow-up that comes through the system, right? So we have our virtual cold callers, and we have our SMS and our PPC and stuff like that. That all comes into the system, goes into Podio, and then we have a junior acquisition manager that kind of handles that. They take that lead from that point, and they pass that off. If it gets fully qualified, then that goes on to our closer. So then the closer will take it from that point, and then they'll try to close the deal. So that's with the inbound stuff. But then we also have, obviously when you're cold calling, you're just going out and making the calls directly. Then they have a little bit more leeway with those calls to just kind of, really take that conversation where it's going to go. But again, with the inbound stuff, we there's much more of a process with it for us.
Right.
That they have to follow that process. And I listen to all the calls, so I mean, like we record all the phone calls. They're all through smartphone. And so, so I'm able to kind of listen to all of our agents. I mean, we have a new agent that just started a week and a half ago, and today's actually his first day on his own. So I'm going to be listening to all of his calls, dissecting it and saying, hey, listen, this call, when he had said this, next time, make sure you say this. Like, so there's a ton of coaching. So, I mean, right now, my main thing is really coaching my team members, and my goal is just to get them to my skill level. Like that's all I'm trying to do is just duplicate, little mini of that are just doing the exact same thing, because I know it's a proven process that's going to work for us. And so if I can get them to that same level, then we're just going to have many more deals coming in. So that's kind of how our process goes.
And
are you using Podio on smartphone?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a game changer when I found smartphone for sure. Where are you hiring you say agents, and I don't know if they're actually licensed or not, but where are you recruiting? What's your recruiting channel for your cold callers?
Social media.
Yeah.
We have literally everyone on our team right now, aside from my mom, everyone on our team is a product of social media. Someone's, they've reached out and said, hey, I'd love to get the chance to work with you. Love to get the chance to, just kind of come see what you're doing, stuff like that. We held a big interview process probably about 3.5 months ago, when we were kind of like rebranding, kind of like redoing how we were going to do our sales team. And we interviewed probably like 12 people or so. And the 3 guys that we have right now were the 3 top guys that we were excited about. And I mean, God, they're killing it. They're killing it right now. We did, not like these numbers are crazy, but for the month of January, we just obviously just finished the numbers up yesterday. So we did 365,000 in January.
I love that, bro. Good for you. Good for, and that's all flipping, correct?
No, that's whole.
The last day of the month is always a good time to finish it up, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got
it earlier than that, right?
Yeah, we got a deal yesterday too. So the deal yesterday was that one helped out. So yeah, so no, that's flipping and wholesaling.
I love it. What how are you paying your callers?
So we do a base amount, and then we also do commission.
Okay.
And then you're, junior acquisition, and if you're a closer, you're tiered. So you're tiered on different levels based on your performance for the month. So, if you hit, if you hit whatever it is, I don't remember exactly what our numbers are. I think it's 50,000, 75,000, and 100,000, something like that. Based on whichever number you hit, then you're getting that commission.
What's your tier commission? Because I hire at a $3,000 base.
Okay.
And then juniors are 5, seniors are 10.
Okay. We do juniors are 5, and then we do closers are 8, 9, 10.
Based around like 50K, 100K, whatever.
Right, exactly. And I think the closers numbers though are one. God, I'd have to double check. I think it's 115 and 130, or 115 and 140, or something like that.
Okay, about where they.
And then the juniors are 50, 75, 50, 65, and 80, or something like that. I'll have to look it up.
Do you give everyone a salary, or is it a draw?
Everyone's base salary.
2 or 3?
2.
Yeah.
2 base.
I mean, it seems like that's the model for most.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I can't figure out a way to model it even better, right?
No, you can't, because that's the thing that's tough, is that when everyone comes in, when they're starting on a sales team like this, sales position, a lot of the times these people, the guys on your team, they need some type of a base. It's very few people can come in and just be like, yeah, I'm in a great spot, so let me just go full commission. And obviously those people are going to be hungry, but at the same time, you want to build for people to stay with you. I mean, if someone's going full commission and they have a rough 3 months and they're not making any money for 3 months, it's like, those people are going to be the first ones to dip and be like, sorry guys, I'm out of here. Like, this is just I'm not making any money. This is tough.
Yeah, they're gone. There's no doubt about it.
Exactly. And as we all know, again, like, when you first get started, that's when you're building your pipeline out. So it's like, you don't have a ton of just like super hot leads that you're like, oh yeah, closed 3 deals in my first month. Like, I mean, some people do that, obviously, but again, it's much more difficult once you kind of get your feet wet and get in. And once you're in for, 6 months to a year, that's when you start getting those deals that come back to you. And we know those are the best deals too, is when you get that call on a Sunday afternoon and it's like, yeah, this is Brenda. You spoke with me about my house on blah, blah, blah. I'm ready to sell now. And you're like, yes.
Exactly.
Because those are always the big boys. Those are always the ones where they're like, yeah, so we were talking about like 330, but I get it. I need to sell now, so I'll take that 300 that you were at. And you're like, all right, great. Yeah. Funny thing is, I actually need to be at 290 now. So so those ones are fun. But that's a little bit about how our process goes.
How big of a list are you skip tracing monthly right now?
Oh man, I'd have to ask Jake. So Jake handles all our back end stuff. So I'm you already know this, but Chris, you know this too. I'm in a partnership with Jake Landis. He's like my best friend from elementary school and everything. So how our setup is he handles all the back end stuff. So he does, the systems, the numbers, all that kind of stuff, and then I do all the sales. I do our sales team. Obviously, cold call, stuff like that. So
nice.
Yes, sir. But what's that?
You need to get back to dispoing those houses and not keeping them all.
I know. Yeah, seriously. We used to sell everything to Chris, and now we've just been flipping everything or keeping them. So that's the other tough thing, is obviously once you kind of start getting into holding them, it's like you want to hold on to everything.
100%. Do you pay yourself? So when I buy a rental from my company,
yeah,
I average our wholesale fee and pay out of it.
So we keep our rental properties through. Most of our rentals they're kept through Viking Real Estate for Jake and I. So, but there's times where he'll buy one out from Viking, or I'll buy one out from Viking, and then we pay the business. What we do is we pay the other one out when we take one.
Yeah. And then do you still pay your sales guys on a potential rip?
Absolutely. For sure.
And you allocate that to the cost, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
No doubt about it. Heck yeah. Something I was going to talk about real quick. just because when we were talking about the market and everything, something that's wild. So obviously, as we were talking about Northern Arizona, I'm from Prescott, so that's why we do a lot there. I'm pretty familiar with it. We got a bunch of crews up there. We've got probably like five separate crews that are doing all of our projects up there. But one of the reasons why we're flipping everything between Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Dewey, Mayer, that's all considered. It's considered the Tri-City area. So there's probably 120,000 people or so now in that area. As of As of 10 days ago, I believe, in that market with 120,000 people and a shit ton of people moving there, we had 120 active properties in that market.
Wow.
120 with 120,000 population. So, and of that, listen to this, of that 120 that were active, it was like 37 of them. Only 37 of them were under 600 grand.
Jesus. Dude, it is time to make money. That is for sure.
That's why we're like, and so that's why when Chris said that, like, you guys are flipping everything. That's the reason why, is because everything is going for over asking. You're not even having to like do anything crazy on these projects. Like, and we still do, like, we still put out a really nice product. And so when you're putting out a nice product and most people are not doing the level of flip that we're doing, it's obviously it's a makeup for a perfect storm.
No doubt. 100%. Love it. What are you guys thinking? Where do we want to go? Circle up next week.
Yeah.
I want more engagement. I want more questions. These things get ramped up with questions. We can go for hours.
Yeah.
Don't ask me any questions.
Has anybody got any ideas of what they want to hear next week?
Yeah, offer up some ideas.
For sure.
Offer up some subjects that you guys would like to hear about.
We give some ideas. We can do Airbnbs, multifamily, lending side. Obviously, we can dive a lot deeper into cold calling. We only hit the basics of just the very beginning.
Yeah, that was for sure.
Heck yeah. But
how many offers do you try to hit a week with your team?
So our KPIs are a little behind. Like, we should know our KPIs better, but we're kind of like a, throw everything against the wall and see what sticks type right now. We're just like, we're getting probably about we're probably getting about 10 deals a month right now. Which is
offers a week to try to get it contracted.
Right. And that's obviously, we're direct to seller. So it's, so I mean, when we're getting 10, they're typically pretty deep, pretty deep deal. We're very, very rarely are getting, even 20K deals. They're, for the most part right now, our average last year was 52K per deal.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was 52 last year. This year we're doing a lot more deals this year than we were going to do last year, or than we did last year. So, I mean, I can see that number coming down. But then again, if the market stays how it is right now, I don't know if it will. So we'll see. But
did you answer how big of a list you do monthly to Skip Trace?
Like I said, I'd have to ask Jake exactly what that number is.
Right. Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions on that back end that I'm just like, when people ask me, I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I can tell you how to get a signed contract, but I can't tell you the process of putting that in the system. So
no doubt. All right, y'all. Well, let's circle back up next week for the Red Room.
Cool.
Sounds good.
That sounds great.
Thanks. See you.
We'll see you.